The following is for informational purposes only. For medical advice, please see a medical professional.
Welcome to Staying Alive with Margaret and Susie. Today we are going to talk about the importance of fruit and vegetables and how to incorporate those into our day-to-day life. And of course, Susie's the main expert in this, but I'll be asking lots of questions. So take it away, Susie.
And talking about how you eat lots of fruits and vegetables. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, this is one of my favorite topics. You know, growing up, I had a grandmother that had a big garden. And so I got exposed to quite a bit of fresh produce as a little kid. But it seemed to me that there was never enough. I was the kid who loved vegetables. And unlike my siblings, they would sneak me their vegetables when my parents weren't looking. So, but I mean, now that they're adults, they like vegetables. But yeah, I always loved them. And I felt like I got some good exposure. Although, you know, it wasn't the emphasis that it is today. You know, we were lucky if we had a vegetable for dinner and some fruits during the day. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty much it. But back in the 1990s, I was working in some nutrition programs and the 5-a-day campaign started.
Oh.
And yeah, so that and I was like, oh, I can get behind this. This is good. 5 a day.
Well, I remember with the pyramid, it was 5 servings, but I know there's more to it. So tell us some details on the 5 a day. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that time period, they started to discover that vitamins and minerals came from fruits and vegetables, that fruits and vegetables were great sources of those, but that there was also this thing called phytonutrients. And phytonutrients are compounds in fruits and vegetables that can really help our health. So, you know, it can't be necessarily that you just eat 5 oranges or drink a glass of orange juice that takes about 5 oranges to make. The idea of 5 a day is to get a variety of fruits and vegetables, 5 different ones. So, great. You know, and basically, though, more than 5 is great. The more, the better.
Mm. And I've heard you say the color of the rainbow because as you're going to explain, these phytonutrients, different colors contain
different right.
Yeah, different.
Think about, you know, red, yellow, orange, blue, purple. You know, now that we know that these phytonutrients are in all these fruits and vegetables, by eating the different colors, you get a really good supply of them. For instance, we've got lipocene from tomatoes.
Okay.
Lipocene is a compound in tomatoes. We've got lutein is also in tomatoes. We've also got carotenes that are in carrots and a lot of orange vegetables. We've got flavonoids that are in a lot of vegetables, including apples, berries, kale, onions. We've got anthocyanins that are in blueberries.
Okay.
And we've got lutein is also in spinach, collards, and kale. And the thing about phytonutrients is they're a compound that gives you kind of an edge. You know, they give you an ability to improve your health because they act as antioxidants also. We've talked about that in previous podcasts. You want to prevent your cells in your body from oxidizing. So the more antioxidants that you include in your diet, the more likely you are not to have oxidation of cells, basically.
Although it does happen with aging.
It does happen with aging.
We can't
and
prevent
some of this,
it, but
right.
we can help ourselves along a lot.
Yes, we can. And, you know, there's huge benefits. You know, not just providing your B vitamins or vitamin A, E, and C from fruits and vegetables, but they're giving you all these other compounds and fiber. That's the other reason to eat whole fruits and vegetables, not rely on things like juice, because you're not getting any fiber from juice.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
unless you have a juicer and you put everything in, then right?
Well, juicers still filter out stuff, though.
Oh, that's true. That's
true. But a smoothie, If you take whole fruits and put it in a smoothie, you're getting all the fiber too.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's important. And, you can take a vitamin pill to get your vitamins and minerals, but first of all, I would never prescribe vitamins to a person, but you have to think about the fact that you don't get all those other compounds from a pill. It's pretty difficult. And your body does not absorb them very well. Most of the vitamins that you get from fruits and vegetables are water-soluble vitamins. And so you're not going to, they're not going to last in your body. And whether or not you even absorb them is a whole other thing.
Well, since you're mentioning vitamins, I'll just ask the obvious question, which is, do some vitamins contain all the phytonutrients? Which is
You
different.
mean in a pill?
Yeah.
No.
Not that I know of.
No, I mean, there might be some supplements out there that have added phytonutrients, like they add them to the pill. But I certainly wouldn't rely on it for your intake. No.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah.
I've never even seen it, so that's why.
Yeah. And, these days you got to get your best bang for your buck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So always try to think about the fact that you're getting all these great things from fruits and vegetables. Now, I like to talk a little bit about whether or not you need to get fresh, frozen. Not everybody lives in a place where you can get fresh vegetables year round. There's nothing wrong with frozen vegetables. First of all, frozen vegetables are the vegetable is usually frozen close to harvest. So when you go to a field and they're harvesting peas, they're going to freeze those pretty quickly, because if they don't, they wouldn't be a very palatable product. When you have vegetables in the wintertime and they've been sitting in the store for, maybe a week, maybe two, they start to lose some of those nutrients. So sometimes frozen vegetables are actually a better choice. Also, if you think about
fruit too.
Fruit too, yes. One of my pet peeves is when you go to the store in the summertime and they've got their strawberries sitting out in the sun, because they start to lose the nutrients from exposure to light. So it's really important. And you think about it, if you want blueberries are a really good source of all kinds of nutrients. If you bought them in the wintertime where I live, they're certainly not coming from Washington State. And they might come around March. They might come from California. I don't really know. But primarily, they're coming from South America.
Yeah.
So in my world, it's much better to eat frozen of some of those things.
And I won't say that they don't taste as good because where they come from, but it's not the same as fresh. So
no, it's not really.
I mean, you can get great blueberries in like Michigan and Minnesota and in different places. But what I found is that I buy my blueberries in particular, for instance, at the height of the season in big quantities, and then I freeze them.
Right. I do the same. Yeah.
And those are so much better than buying them frozen.
Yeah. I do that with strawberries, raspberries, and blueberries. I always have them in my freezer. And I never buy fresh ones in the wintertime, really. That's just the way I am.
Yeah.
But also, if you can't get fresh, frozen is a good alternative for a lot of people. And if you're not cooking for a big family, a bag of frozen something, you only have to take out a little bit to cook. So then you're not wasting also.
Mm-hmm.
Canned produce can also be an alternative for some people. I don't think there's anything wrong with some canned vegetables. You might want to watch the sodium in the can, especially when it comes to vegetables. But if that's the way you have to get your fruits and vegetables, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I like to talk about is whether or not people need to buy organic. There's a lot of move towards buying organic produce. Sometimes it's more expensive. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's comparable, depending on where you shop and where you live, right? But there is something called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 list that is put out by the Environmental Working Group every year. And basically, it's based on how much pesticides, insecticides, fungicides they have to use to get a crop to market. Some particular types of produce are more susceptible to infestations of bugs or fungus. Some are grown on the ground, like, for instance, strawberries. Strawberries are close to the ground when they're grown, so they're a little bit more susceptible to fungus. So a lot of strawberries that you'll see in the market have been sprayed. And the Environmental Working Group, the list is kind of nice because it's the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. So the Clean 15 is a list of produce that you don't necessarily need to buy organic because they don't have to use as many chemicals on those foods. For instance, some of the brassicas, cabbage, broccoli, they have a tendency to be on the Clean 15 list because those particular types of crops are not as susceptible, right? So it's a good reference for people. So I'm going to post it on the website so that everybody can see that list, and you can just pull it up online also.
Great.
Yeah, it's a handy list to have if you're concerned about that.
Thanks.
But never deny yourself produce based on that. And I always tell people, if you have to eat what you have available, just, that's fine too. Yeah.
Good.
But always wash your produce too. That helps.
Good.
You can't necessarily wash off everything that's been put on a piece of produce, but it's certainly every kind of produce should be washed, whether it's organic or not organic.
Refer to our food safety episode previously recorded. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to think about, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about cooking. So we talked about some of those phytonutrients. One of my favorite ones is the carotenoids. Carotenoids are what's in carrots. Think about that nice orange color. Now, carotenoids are one of the compounds that you actually get more carotenoid when you cook it. Now, my favorite way to make soup, for instance, is to saute some onions and carrots and a little bit of olive oil. And sure enough, those carrots start to give up their carotenoid, and it turns it kind of a nice, beautiful orange color. And then when you make the soup, you get a really nice color too. But you're releasing that compound when you cook it. It's the same with tomatoes. Tomatoes release some of their lipocene when you cook them. So it really helps make those more bioavailable for you.
And what about something like a green bean? Like I don't know, but whenever a vegetable brightens when you cook it.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, that could be an indication that you're getting more of a compound when it brightens.
Carrot really brightens when you cook it.
Yeah.
And so some things you get more of the compound when you cook it. Are there any that you get less of the compound if you cook it?
Yes, there are. Broccoli, for instance, there's a lot of benefits to broccoli. All those cruciferous vegetables have a lot of benefits. And you can really deplete them by cooking. Okay. Yeah, really, broccoli should only be cooked for about 3 minutes, they say. The other thing about broccoli is, I don't know if you've noticed this, but if you cook it with a lid on, they have some sulfur compounds in them. And the sulfur compounds kind of are more intensified when you cook something with a lid on it.
So it doesn't taste as good? It's not bad.
It can be a little bit more sulfury tasting, more acidic. That also happens if you keep broccoli, cabbage, Brussels sprouts a little too long. I had a bad experience with some Brussels sprouts once, or they were just too old, and I tried to cook them thinking maybe that would kind of take away the kind of sulfury flavor. Boy, it did not. Yeah.
And when you think about it, those types of green vegetables, they do really lose their color when you overcook them.
Yeah, they do. That's true. Yeah. They're not as bright.
No.
Yeah. So always think about that you don't want to cook it too long. I think, 3 minutes is kind of the rule. And really, it can cook just fine in 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of my favorite cabbage.
Cabbage, because we eat that raw, we eat it cooked.
Yeah.
Maybe
but you can overcook it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing that's kind of exciting way to cook vegetables, if we want to get started talking about cooking, is roasting vegetables.
Oh.
Even though vegetables themselves wouldn't count them as having sugar in them, roasting them really enhances the sweetness of them. There's something about it. Recently, my granddaughter loves tomato soup that comes in a box. And I noticed on the label that it has quite a bit of added sugar. So I got a recipe for tomato soup made with roasted tomatoes. And it was so good because the roasting actually increases the sugar content in the fruit. It kind of enhances it. It doesn't have much sugar in it, but it really makes it pop. Same with cauliflower, carrots. They're all wonderful roasted. And roasted, a lot of times people think they don't like a vegetable. I think most of the time, personally, it's because they haven't had it in any other way except boiled.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what it does to the phytonutrients, because if you think about it, like Susie and I both roast a lot of different vegetables, they darken when you
Mm-hmm.
roast, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
because we're burning them. No, I
Right.
mean, like I only cook asparagus if it's thin for like 5 minutes in a high oven,
Right.
and it
Right.
just really brightens it up, and it
Right.
tastes
Yeah.
so
It must
good.
be enhancing those
I'm
compounds.
I'm
There's
thinking so.
25,000, at least 25,000 recognized phytonutrients.
Mm.
And and that didn't start out that way when they first started the 5-a-day campaign. It was every year they discover new ones. It's really kind of an exciting science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it tastes better too.
Oh, it
I mean,
tastes so much better.
like if when I was a really young kid, the only access I ever had to a piece of asparagus was in a can,
Sure. Me
and
too.
oh,
Yeah.
I didn't like it. And
Yeah.
and then I was introduced to fresh asparagus. It was okay steamed, but
Right. Right.
roasted,
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable. And I remember at least one person who I turned on to roasted asparagus who thought that they just didn't like asparagus their whole life
Right.
because they'd never
Right.
had it that way.
Right. That's exciting to me. I love that. Yeah. Then I do a lot of stir fry also. That can also enhance people's desire to eat vegetables, I think, is if you stir fry them. And you can stir fry any vegetables really. I've never stir fried beets or, or rutabagas, but yeah, you can stir fry all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
One of my family's favorite things is to take potatoes, cook potatoes, like just boil them, and cook carrots. You have to cook them separately because carrots and potatoes do not cook the same time. The potatoes cook a lot faster. And then mash them together with maybe a little butter, maybe yogurt, sour cream, and then top them with some Parmesan cheese and broil it for just a
Mm-hmm.
couple minutes. Oh, my family loves that. It comes out like this golden mashed potatoes. So, what else do we do with vegetables? Well, we make soup. Soup is a great way, and it's also pretty economical.
It's my favorite way, really.
Yeah,
In the
especially in
winter.
the winter. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't eat a lot of soup in the summertime, but in the winter, I eat
Your
a lot of
famous
soup.
gazpacho recipe.
Well,
I
gazpacho is good in
remember.
the summer, yes, but in the winter we eat a lot of soups.
Yeah.
It's economical. It fills you up too because of all that liquid in the soup. I think it helps you be more full. I mean, a lot of times for dinner we just have a bowl of soup and some bread or something.
Yeah. And
It's
it's
plenty.
easier to get all five in a
Yes,
soup.
it is.
I
It
mean,
is. It's easy to get a variety. You really should start your day with some kind of fruit or vegetable. I mean, sometimes I put spinach or something in my eggs in the morning, or spinach in a smoothie, or we have a smoothie with fruit. Then I try to incorporate some kind of vegetable or fruit in every single meal for sure. It
yeah.
really helps. I think people worry about the cost of things. There are definitely some types of produce that tend to cost more than others. Carrots are usually a pretty economical choice, and there's nothing wrong with good carrots. Potatoes can be an economical choice. Sometimes where I live in the winter, some things get more expensive, mostly lettuce, actually, lettuce and things like that. Kale is usually about the same price here year round, I think,
Yeah.
because some people are growing it locally.
Yeah.
So we
And
can.
I don't know about you, but I tend to not eat because I don't grow my own lettuce. I don't really eat lettuce in the months where lettuce doesn't grow around where I live. But
Mhm.
during the months that lettuce isn't growing, kale is always growing, and
Right. Yeah.
I'll make a kale
I buy
salad.
lettuce, but not as much. Yeah. And I don't like it as much as I do because we have great lettuce around here in the summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good in the summer.
Yeah, it is. Even onions have a lot of benefit. There's phytonutrients in onions, those onions and garlic, things like that. And onions are something that keep pretty well, and you can add them to things. Sometimes I think people use too much onion. I don't know about you, but I've noticed that a recipe will call for half an onion, and it depends on the size of the onion. And then I started measuring, and sometimes I've cut down on my onion use.
Yeah. Well, the average person I know doesn't like raw onion. Some people do, but cooked.
Yes, cooked onions
is a great way to go in soup. Yeah.
Right. One really good way to have onions is you get a red onion and then pickle it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then they keep in the fridge really good.
Yeah. That's something that I do at certain times a year, particularly with like a hot pepper. If I have like a really large quantity of hot peppers, I love to pickle those.
Mm-hmm. I did that this year too. Yeah. We had some growing in the garden.
And pickling doesn't have to be a big deal. I mean, you can just boil up the vinegar, a little bit of sugar, salt, and just pour it over and stick it in the fridge. It doesn't have to be anything fancy.
No, it doesn't have to be fancy, and you don't have to can it.
Yeah.
I just want people to enjoy fruits and vegetables. I think it's really important, not just for the nutrients, but they're fun to eat. And when it comes to kids, don't give up. I always tell people, I've worked with kids for many years. Don't give up.
Oh, that's great.
Just keep introducing them different ways.
That's
and
great.
You'll be fine.
And when children are really young, most of them aren't picky eaters in the first couple of years of life, but some develop habits where they don't like a certain texture or taste or something. But in my experience, kids outgrow that, and they come back, they do. They come back around to what they were introduced to in the first few years of life. And,
they do. They do. And, I think I was lucky my kid loved them, but not all kids do. And I just don't think you should give up. Don't ever assume that they're never going to eat them or might not eat them in a different form.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I used to blend up fruit and put it in like little ice cube trays. To make like a little popsicle kind of thing.
Yeah, I did that too.
For my children, yeah.
It's all fun. Yeah.
They had these like Tupperware popsicle things where you put it in and then
we had some of those.
Put the stick on, yeah, all kinds of things. Yeah.
My grandson loves frozen blueberries. The kid could live on frozen blueberries all winter long. I think I'll probably run out this year.
Frozen bananas with chocolate.
Frozen bananas
with cocoa. Yeah,
all kinds of good things.
So we've covered everything.
I think so.
Anything you want to tell people about our website or?
Please feel free to look at the website, Staying Alive with Margaret and Susy, and ask questions if you want to. We don't get too many questions, but I'd love to have them.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's it for today. And so come again. And until next time, we are
Staying Alive.
You've been listening to Staying Alive with Margaret and Susy. This show is hosted by Margaret Cooley and Susy Hymas. To subscribe to our show, leave a comment or ask a question, please visit stayingalivewithmargaretandsusy.com. Our podcast is available on all major podcast platforms. If you've enjoyed our program, please feel free to leave us a 5-star review. Thanks for listening.